New Zealanders, you were not only lied to by your government and health officials and many of your doctors, but you were also swindled of your good health. And here is the evidence.
So, do you remember that we were told that the way out of this pandemic was to get everyone vaccinated? That was what was going to keep us safe.
You know, that's what the vaccine is for. It's to stop the pandemic. Vaccinations are our armour. They help keep us safe.
We need more people fully vaccinated across more suburbs and more age groups. As we do that, we will be in a better position to safely lift those restrictions that are the hardest to live with.
But what I want to show you next was that literally what has happened to Canada is exactly what happened to those laboratory animals that were tested with the vaccine against the very first SARS virus, where it literally, that so-called vaccine ended up working as an anti-vaccine and made them more vulnerable to the disease than if they had not been vaccinated. So what we now have is a pandemic of the vaccinated. I'm going to show you the evidence that this so-called vaccine is actually an anti-vaccine and that it has increased people's risk. It increases your chance of getting COVID.
If you are vaccinated, it means that you are less likely to catch the virus.
It increases your chance of spreading COVID.
The more people who are vaccinated, the harder it is for COVID to spread through communities quickly and find our most vulnerable.
And it damages your immune system to such a degree that you have a higher risk of hospitalization and death.
That means while we used to say that we needed to stay home to save lives, we now need to be vaccinated to save lives.
And of course, that's what the narrative that the public health keep telling us, that even though they now admit it doesn't stop you getting COVID, it doesn't stop you spreading COVID, they say it'll keep you out of hospital, at least you won't die.
People who are vaccinated will still get COVID-19. It just means that they won't get sick and they won't die.
And I'm going to show you the evidence for why that is absolutely false. So this is a very important study that came out a few months ago from Cleveland, Ohio. This was a study done on healthcare workers, 51,000 healthcare workers that had had various numbers of COVID injections. And if you can see there are 5 lines there. The bottom of the graph is the passage of time, and they followed these people for 3 months to see who was getting COVID. And of course, the people that are getting COVID are the people who are spreading COVID. The black line at the bottom is the people that were unvaccinated. 0 doses of the vaccine. They were getting less COVID than anyone else.
The virus is literally finding unvaccinated people.
The next line up, the red line, is those that had had 1 dose of the vaccine. The green line, 2 doses. The blue line, 3 doses.
For anyone who is not vaccinated right now, unless you choose to be, you will not be able to enjoy the freedoms of other New Zealanders.
And the top line, the brown one, were the people that had had the bivalent booster, the one that's supposed to keep you the safest. They were getting COVID more than anyone else. There was an absolute direct linear correlation that the more shots you got, the more likely you would get COVID and the more likely you would spread COVID.
Please get a booster. Go and get boosted. The booster is incredibly important. Please do go out and get your booster today.
So what about severe injury and death? This is from New South Wales, Australia. This is 2 bar graphs. The one on the left is a bar graph with 4 bars showing, again, the number of vaccine doses. The graph on the left, those columns are people in hospital. The graph on the right is people in ICU. Just for the sake of time and simplicity, let's look at the one of ICU, the graph on the right. You can see the people that had 0 doses, in other words, the unvaccinated, there were absolutely none of them in ICU. 0. Of the people that had 1 shot, very few in ICU. And literally, the more shots they had, the more likely they would end up in ICU. It was an exact linear relationship. The more accumulated damage to your immune system from these boosters, the more harm that you would have from this disease.
You know, the best protection that I can offer and that anyone can offer right now is a vaccination.
This was functioning as an anti-vaccine, making you even more vulnerable.
Very soon you won't be able to do many things that you love without being vaccinated, and I expect that will accelerate vaccinations. That is certainly our goal.
Well, if I'm any example, I don't like to admit that I was swindled, taken for a fool. But in this case, yes, we were all swindled. You, like me, were subjected to a military-grade psychological operation to get you to comply sheep-like with instructions to go out and basically roll up your arm, roll up the arms of your children and get jabbed by this toxic substance, which is akin to snake venom, the spike protein. The spike protein, whether it was from the virus itself or from the vaccine, it's the same. It's incredibly inflammatory. There was initially a surge of heart attacks and strokes. It was nicknamed the clot shot for that reason. Today, we're now seeing a surge of chronic diseases as people's weakened immune systems can no longer quench the fires of inflammation raging inside their bodies. And we're now seeing a surge of diseases like cancer, dementia, Parkinson's, all kinds of horrible diseases, even musculoskeletal diseases like a surge in inflammatory arthritis, tendon and ligament degeneration, so tendon tears, poor healing, those kinds of things. And also think of neuroinflammation driving things like anxiety, depression, emotional outbursts. Just think of the surge in criminal behaviour that we're seeing in society, and think of neuroinflammation, whether it's the virus itself or the vaccine. As far as I'm concerned, they're one or the same. And the fact is that the virus is proliferating, it's circulating, it hasn't gone away, and that's because of the massive pool of immune damaged people here in New Zealand and elsewhere. So instead of the virus disappearing, it is in fact thriving, and God knows how many variants there are out there. This is a disaster. Now, what can you do? First of all, no more jabs. Invest in your health through healthy exercise, fresh air, getting into the great outdoors, and eating fresh, homegrown, nutrient-dense food for yourself and your family. The other thing is that if you feel you or a loved one has in any way been harmed by the vaccine, then file a claim with accident compensation. Ideally, do so through the assistance of a lawyer. You can file it on your own. Your doctor can file it on your behalf. Your doctor is obliged to. Your doctor is not the gatekeeper in the sense of saying whether or not the claim is valid. It's ACC. Instruct your doctor or your lawyer, or both, to file a claim on your behalf or on the behalf of a loved one. ACC will inevitably decline the claim, but don't worry, it's part of the process. You then take it to appeal and you just keep plugging away, ideally with the assistance of a lawyer. And the more of us who do this, the more likely the doubling down, which we're seeing now by those who committed these crimes, will be eventually worn away and exposed, and we will see not only justice but also the right healthcare that the vaccine injured deserve. If you're vaccine injured, you deserve the assistance of the state for restoring your health and well-being, and not less. Unfortunately, right now, the vaccine injured are basically being dumped They're being stonewalled. They're being hidden away and are left to their own devices to do what they can to restore their health and well-being. As far as I'm concerned, the state, the criminals who caused this terrible situation are responsible. Our hospitals are close to collapse due to the weight of ill health from all causes now, and we need to recognise this. We need to accept it. I'll just make one final point. There is a Royal Commission of Inquiry, but it's not going to report until the end of this year or even next year, and it will be years before any recommendations, whatever they might be, are properly implemented. As far as I'm concerned, that's far too late. We need to declare a national emergency right now to help the vaccine injured, and we certainly do not need more jabs. The criminals behind this are trying to cover themselves by delaying and obfuscating, and they are going one step further and they're saying, get more jabs, it's safe and effective. The evidence now by the bucket load is that it is neither safe nor effective, it is harmful. With this message, it is a message, I would like to say, of hope. It is not negative. It is one of defiance. It's time for you to get angry. It's time for us to get even. It's time for us to see justice. So with that, I will say goodbye and strength to you all, and may I wish you all excellent health.